Hello, welcome back to Laser Cut and Fly RC Models. I'm the Laser Model Guy. What I want to do in this video is carry on with our own design and build of a radio controlled aircraft. And today I'm going to be building the fuselage or designing the fuselage on Lightburn. We'll have all the parts ready to cut out by the end, and we'll be able to print or laser cut our own kit, and we'll be able to fly our own design plane. Let's get on with the fuselage. Okay, so it's time to start looking at building the fuselage or creating the fuselage. Now I'm going to go by the rule that the fuselage should be around about 3/4 of the length of the wingspan. Now the wing we've constructed here is 500mm long, which means the wingspan is going to be 1000mm. So our fuselage needs to be 750mm long. So what I'm going to do is, to start with, I'm going to create a center line. I'm just going to put that center line there, and then I'm going to go to nodes. I'm going to hover over our center line, or select our center line, hover over it and press A. I now know that that center line is level. So I'm going to now make the first basic shape, and all I'm going to do is make a rectangle that is 750mm long. 750, and that is basically going to be the center part of our fuselage. That's how long it's going to be. Let's move those down a little. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create another rectangle. Now this is going to be the cabin. The wing is going to sit on top of that, so it needs to be at least 150mm long. Now I want a little bit in front and a little bit behind, so I'm going to make this 170mm long, so that I can put something at the front to hold the wing in place and something at the back, and by doing that the wing will be secure and held nicely when we're flying. Now the positioning of the cabin needs to be set so that the leading edge of the wing is 15% of the wingspan away from the front of the nose, or away from the propeller. So that would be 150mm from the front. So that's where this front edge needs to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a little line. I'm going to use this measuring stick, to be fair, and all I'm going to do is set the length of that at 150, and I'm just going to use it as a way of positioning our box for the cabin. There we go. Just sit it like that, and then move this forward, and I now know that the proportion is about right there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is, I think we'll just drop the size, or drop the height of this to 150, just as a start point. Just check that we're in the right place still. Remove it, yep, that'll do. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select both of those, and I'm going to weld them together. So with our center line, bring our center line back, and what I'll do is I'll just center those using this tool up here. So with our center line back in, what I want to do now is work out where the tail plane is going to sit. Now the tail plane, or the leading edge of the tail plane, should be behind the leading edge of the main plane by 3 times the wing chord. So 3 times 150mm. So 450mm, if we use our measuring stick and we change the length of that to 450, then all I need to do is drop this down here and that's now in line with the front edge of the wing there, and it's now in line at the back here. So what I want to do is go to nodes, and I'm going to put a node right above that point in line there. So hover over the line, press I, and then I'm going to bring that node down until it reaches the centre line. Because what I want to do, I want that wing or that tail plane to line up with the propeller. So I want those to be in a straight line through the middle of the airplane. So next I can delete this node here by highlighting it and then pressing D. And then what I can do is I can then start to put a little bit of a shape on the nose. There we go. And I'll just delete this node here by highlighting and pressing D. Okay, and I can then delete this node here. So if we come back to nodes and we come to this back end, all I want to do is bring that shape up. Okay, so if we now select nodes again, and in the middle here I'm just going to put a nice smooth curve node. So I'm going to insert, and I'm going to convert that to a smooth curve node and just give us a little bit of a shape there. And then I'm going to put another node, insert, again a smooth curve node. I'm going to take that one in slightly, a nice curve there. Okay, and then if we come to the center up here, and we'll put a smooth curve node in there and just give us a nice little shape down from the cabin. And then up at the front, just going to give us a bit more shape here. Okay, just keep tweaking these a little bit until we get a nice shape. And the key thing is that this, where the tailplane will sit at the back, will be in alignment with the propeller. Okay, this looks a little high in the middle here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring the whole thing down a little until it looks a little more sleek and reasonable. Now I've seen some planes that are quite tall and some that are quite wide, some that are fat. I mean, the Popsy is an example which flies really well, but I just want this to look a little sleeker, and that there now, that looks like a better shape. So what I'll do now is I'll highlight that outline, and then I'll bring an offset in 4.6 millimeters, because that's the balsa that I'm going to use on the outer edge. Okay, so that's more or less the outer edge. Now what I want to do is just check some of the dimensions, and then I'm going to start putting the formers in, and then we'll do a plan view, and that will give us the size of our formers. It'll give us the height of them and then the width of them as well. And also I'll be looking at this top of the cabin here. We'll be shaping that round our wing ribs, and I'll also be setting an angle of incidence on this as well, and I'll come to that in just a few minutes. So next, what I want to do is, in the middle of these two, right down the centre of the cabin, I want an upright. So this won't be a former, this will just be part of the side of the fuselage. So all I'll do for that is I'll just make a length. I'll make the width of that 4.6, and then all I need to do with that is put it where I think it's right, and then I'm going to just bring that up and bring it down so that it fits nicely. So what I've done is I've just flattened the bottom of this cabin top former here, and we'll mark that out and we'll cut that out in a minute. And below it, all I've done is I've put in two 4.6mm crossbars there, which will essentially make the windows. The windows will be square. Okay, so that's where we are at the moment. Next, what I want to do is I'm just going to put formers down the tail, down towards the tail, and also towards the nose. And we'll have a look at those formers in just 1 minute. So 4.6, and then what I'm going to do is I'll just copy it and I'll put them in place. Now I want 3 formers coming down here, 1, 2, and then 3, and then we're going to have a nose. Now we just measure from there to there is 154mm, so I think, so if we put these 40mm apart, it'll take us down towards the nose nicely. So I'm just going to make a little measuring stick, and all I'll do is we'll just quickly level that up, go to nodes. I say that's now level, and the length of it I'm going to make 40mm, and I'm going to use that just to position my Okay, next thing to do is create the plan view, because with the plan view, with us having the side view and the plan view, we'd be able to get the sizes and the shapes for our formers. So what I'm going to do, I want, me personally, I like the look of an aeroplane where it's slightly taller than it is wide. So what I'm going to do is make the plan view in 2 parts. Now that is, I'm going to make half of it and then mirror image and then join the 2 together. So first thing to do is make sure that it's exactly the same size as what we've got now. That is 748.343. So I'm going to make this shape 748.343, exactly the same. And then what I'm going to do is just bring it into line just on the end there with our side view. So if I now convert that to a path so that I can go to nodes, and now if we go to nodes, I'll be able to place a node right on our former 1 by going insert and then come to former 2, and I'm going to do insert again. I now got a node right over those 2, so I'll just bring this down, and all I'm going to do now is go back to nodes and I'm going to shape the plane. So looking from the top, the nose will come in, and looking from the top, so will the tail. Now the tail will come all the way down 4.6 millimeters to the point where the two sides of the airplane join. I'll just measure that again. 5.65, so I just want to take 1 millimeter off that. So just go back to nodes, select that node, press Control and the down arrow, and that's 1 millimeter off. So that will be around the right size. Okay, so what I want to do now is I'll put another node in, just in there, insert, and I'm going to click on that and press S, which will convert that to a smooth curve node. And I'm just going to bring that out slightly. Just to there, and then just alter the end node, and then I'm going to put another one in, I think just about there. So insert and then turn that to a smooth curve node, and all that's to do, all I'm intending to do here is give our nose, our slope towards the tail, some shape, and that will make it look a lot nicer. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to change the height of this to around 44 millimeters, and then I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to flip that copy and then join the both together. Now all I want to do here is make sure that that's right on the line. It should snap to that line. There you go. And then we can move the whole thing across till they're exactly in line. And if I collect them both, should be able to weld them together nicely, and I've now got the shape of for our plan view. Let me just check the straightness of this. I think we'll probably find there's a node in the middle there. So if we go to nodes, all I'm going to do is delete this node at the end, and that will straighten out the nose. So select it and press D, and that node has now disappeared. So next, what I want to do is I want to put all of our cross braces in, and I want them to be in exactly the same position as the ones on the side plan. So all I'm going to do is, I've lined up now on the front here, so I know that that is exactly in line with the side view. So if I press my shift key and then my down arrow, that will move me 10 millimeters at a time, and all I want to do is just move down to there. So what I want to do is come inside now using our offset tool, and I'll come inside by 4.6 millimeters, just like that. So that gives me the outline. And if I come to this, the back here, I can put a snap to that corner, I can put a line into the center there, which will be where the two sides join, and the rest I'll show you how we do that right now. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make a shape, and this is going to be 4.6 millimeters wide, and then I'm going to copy that shape, Control C, and I'm going to put one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, one there, one there. I'll align these in just a second, and all I want to do is make sure that they cross, that they align with the ones on the side, and then they cross our plan at the bottom. So All I want to do now is select our shape and then press Control and just select each of these just like that. Okay, so next I want to get my snipping tool. I want to just take away all of these. Okay, now all I'm going to do is group that whole thing, and we now have our plan view. Now there's a few annotations that I want to make on this plan view. For example, this center spar here, this cross brace here, on the bottom only. So I'll just put that in, and then we take a little line from there, just like that, and that'll remain on our plan view just as an annotation. So if we make the former that is going to sit right here, now this upright is going to be from 4.6mm balsa, and right behind that I want a 3mm former which is going to be made from plywood, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to make that former now. So all I'm going to do is start with a square, and I'm going to make it the size coming up to the top of the cabin former there, and then so that's going to be the height. Now if I just move that out of the way, and then that former will correspond with this cross brace here. If we measure from there across to the other side and meet the line there, that is exactly 88mm. So what I'm going to do is make the width of our former 88mm. Now at the bottom I'm going to need two 4.6mm cutouts so that it will fit straight on the bottom of our fuselage. So bring that over, Control C, Control V, so I've now got two of those, and I'll place them right in the corners at the bottom there. There we are, snapped into shape or snapped into place, and then I'll do exactly the same on this side. There we are, snapped into place. Now is, without increasing the size of the square itself, so I won't use a diagonal which would increase it proportionally. I just want to overlap there, and I just want to overlap there. And now what I can do is I can use our snipping tool to take out that piece and that piece, and now I've got that shape cut in. So in exactly the same way on this side, I'm going to select that shape, just make sure I overlap there, make sure I overlap there, get my snipping tool and just take out those extra bits. I've now got the bottom of our former shaped. Now at the top of the former it's going to meet the cabin former at the top, this piece here, which will be cut out, and that will be so it will meet that. Now what I want to do is our former will have a slot in it which will be exactly this big. Now if I make a shape in there, it will snap to the sizes. There we are. So I can make that shape, and I can now cut that out of our former. because that is 4.653, so I'll just make that 4.6 wide so that it is precise. There we go. So it's now 4.6. I'll just move our former across, and then I'll grab my little shape I've just made, snap to the top line. There we are. And then if I copy and then produce another over here, I can do exactly the same in this corner. There we go. And then once again, if I just extend across there and then extend across there, I can get my snipping tool and just take out those bits. And then do exactly the same with this corner. There we go. Now the top of this is going to meet this dihedral, because the aeroplane, if we were to look at it from the front end, there's going to be a dihedral in this wing, and we've already got that shape. We made it up here, so I can bring that down. And then what I can do is, if I use this tool up here, I can center that. So with those centered, what I want to do now is I want to just take the dihedral, and all I'm going to do is move it up until this bottom edge of the dihedral meets the top edge or the top corner there. So I'm just going to slowly move that up. And now we're touching top and bottom, or touching both corners. So I want to cut the top of our former to fit that dihedral, and the way I'm going to do that, very simple. I'm going to go to nodes, click on our shape, I'm going to insert a node by hovering over it, insert right in the center, and then what I'm going to do is just bring that down to touch that point there. And we now know that our former has got the correct size dihedral, and that will just fit nicely. So I can just take this shape back out the way and put it back up there. Okay, now the centre of the former, what I want to do with this former is I want to connect the wheels to it. In the first instance, we'll just make a couple of windows and just centre those on our shape, and all we need to do to accurately centre those is select them all and then go to our centering tool. Now the wheels are going to come, the metal for the wheels is going to come up along, come down and then go out the side there, and it's going to be bound. So all I'm going to do to make that happen is I'm going to arrange a row of small holes. So if I get this circle and I make that 1.5 millimeters. So I've made that 1.5 millimeters, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over, and then I'm going to, if I use a little, I can use a little box. The wire for the wheels will go down the middle of this shape. So all I want to do is I want to arrange these holes on our line on top and bottom, and if you have a look you can see that it will snap into place it will center on that line. So that's all I want to do, and then I'm going to control copy, and I'm going to have 5 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5. So what I'll do is I'll move the next one, put that straight on the line, get the next one, put that straight on the line. I'll leave 1.5 millimeters between them. I'll equally space these to be fair. So that's those reasonably evenly spaced. So what I want to do with those now is I'll just move this shape out of the way, and then I'm going to copy those in a little bank like that, and then I'm going to put that Control Z, put that back where it was, and then I'm going to come underneath and I'm going to put those right below where those ones are, and then I'm going to do the same here. And all this is a way of binding. I'm going to use these small holes that we cut out to bind the piano wire to our plywood former. There we go. If I copy that whole thing now, and then what I can do is I can paste that, and then I can put another one on this side. Just like that. Now that that's all in place, and all I'll be doing is binding through these holes, stitching the whole thing on, and all I need to do now is remove the background shape, and that's what our former will look like. So next I'll just label that up as F1. I'll adjust the height there down to I think 3 millimeters, and this will be F1. I'll change that to our engraving layer, and then I'll group the whole thing, and that's how I'm going to make the formers. Okay, what I've done here with the former I've just made is I've just drawn a line, and all I've done is use the line tool, and then I've drawn roughly what I wanted, and then, you know, just like that. And then all you need to do is get your nodes in the corners. You go to nodes, and then you can pull those around to whatever size you want them to be, or whatever shape. And all I've done is I've superimposed that over the former so that we can make a pattern for our undercarriage. And when we come down here, I've counted from the center how many squares across, so I've made it uniform in that way. So very, very simple. You just make your approximate shape, and then you use the nodes, and all I've done is you click on each node, and then by pressing Shift and Control and then your arrow keys, you can move that 2, 3, 4, 5. You can move that 1/10 of a millimeter at a time to get a really fine control. If you want to move quickly, if you just press Control, you can move it 1 millimeter at a time, like that. If you just press Shift, you can move a much greater distance at a time. So shift and control for very fine, just control to get you roughly into shape, and then that's how you can form your undercarriage. So I'm now going to make former number 2, and I'm going to do it in exactly the same way as I made former 1. Best way for me to go about this, I think, is to just make a copy of former 1. Now let's get former 1 out of the way, put it onto the workspace, and we'll look at that in a little while. So if I come back to our new former, what I'm going to do is ungroup. I'm going to just take the outline away, to be fair. I'll just take the outline over here, and all we'll do is we'll adjust the outline to fit this end, and then we can take it back so that these apertures in the middle remain the same, because we're going to have platforms in there for the battery and such. So all we want to do is, if I just put this edge right on there and then come up to the top, we can see that our slot for the cross brace for the bottom of the cabin window is in the right place. So all I want to do is go to nodes. If I select all of those nodes, and then if I bring them all down, and then if I press Control and Shift, just take them back up 1/10 of a millimetre at a time, I know that both sides have now moved exactly the same. So what I'll do now is I'll take the top 3 nodes, and I want to bring those down level with this trailing edge of the wing, because that trailing edge will be sitting on this former. So Shift and Control, and then bring them all down. Go a little bit faster. There we go. And that looks about right to me. But if I move the whole thing across, okay, we can see that we're just maybe 0.5 millimetre low. So what I'm going to do is go back to nodes, just select the top 3 nodes, just there like that, press Shift and Control, and I'm just going to take that up until I'm happy. There, that will be exactly the right height. So when we fit our former inside, that trailing edge of that wing will sit nicely on top. How we're going to do that now, I'm going to just insert that onto our drawing now. So all I'm going to do is make a shape, and I'm going to bring it down to there, and then I'm going to make that 3 millimeters wide, and then if we come in a little, I can shift that across until it touches our, there we go. Just copy that and put it again down here, and then all I'm going to do is there. And now we've got F2 in there. I'll just label that up. There we go. Okay, so that's former F2 made. F2. So there we are, I'll just group that. And that is former number F2. So we'll just move those back onto the workspace, and we'll work out, we'll position those again later. when we make our 3mm or planning sheet. Okay, what I want to do now is a little more detail around this nose area. So I think we're going to have another piece of 1/8 or 3.2mm balsa in the middle here, and I want to now put those onto our plan view. So with regards to this is the dashboard, and the cellophane or the windscreen will come down there. So I'll just put a little line where the windscreen is going to be, just like that. And there we go. And you know, I think I'll leave that blue, to be fair. Okay, so on the plan view, we're going to come from the very outside to midway to the midpoint, and then back to the very outside again. Now if we were to select nodes and then convert this to a smooth curve node by hovering over it and pressing S, we can then alter these slightly and just show what that dashboard will look like from the top. And there we go. From the top, that dash will look like that. Now what we need to do is that will have a bit of depth. So all I'm going to do is do exactly the same again. Just like that. And go to nodes. Just bring this to where the center is, and then convert that to a smooth curve node like that, and then bring these corners out just like that until we get our our 3.2mm there or thereabouts piece of material. Okay, so that's our dash. That's what that will look like from the top, and it'll be put in at that angle. Now from there we're going to have and that will sit right in the center there. Okay. And there we have that. So what I want to do now is I want to put another piece of balsa straight down there. The way I'm going to do that is just make a straight piece, because we're looking at it. It's hard to judge the angle this will be at because we're looking at it from the side. So I just make that 3.2mm high. There. Okay, now I'll just take our little snipping tool I'll take these extra bits out. There we go. So that will look very much like that. So all I need to do now is put in okay, so if I copy that and then I flip it, we'll have exactly the right angle to match that on the other side. And there we go. So I'm just going to zoom right in, get my snipping tool and just tidy that up. Okay, there's a little bit more detail. So we've done two formers and we've done a little bit of detail around the nose, so we can see what this is going to look like. So I've just arranged these now on the Lightburn workspace, or just off the Lightburn workspace, because what I want to do is I want to put these into position so that I can print it out as a full-size plan to go with all the components when they're cut out, and I'll be coming on to that in future videos. But I've added the wheels, so this framework that we made a little while ago, when it sits in, it also has to be angled forward, and you can use this as the pattern for working that out once it's full size. So I'm going to finish the video now, and in the next video what I'm going to do is complete the formers, put the back wheel on, and that'll come down and then go towards the rear, so there'll be a little bit of suspension there with the way I angle it. And I'm also going to then create all the shapes for these nose formers, and this former here, we'll put them all on the workspace, and then we'll be ready to cut them all out and build our aeroplane. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.